Is this meeting being recorded already?
Yeah, Chair, Angela, yeah, I just tried to record it because I was having difficulties with the last one, but so I just tried to record it just now, and the recording has already started. So if you're just mindful of that just now, before we start the meeting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
We're very late. It's you that's chairing this one, Betty, isn't it?
Aye.
Yeah.
Mark, what's your second name?
Hello.
What's your second name, Mark?
Greenan.
What?
Greenan, Greenen.
Right, okay, that's fine.
Thank you.
I think we're just waiting for Councillor Swift now, if he's coming back on this meeting.
Is Stuart in?
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got Councillor Miller, Betty, the Provost, and Councillor Connery are all here.
Right, good.
I know it's unlikely not to be cheeky to you, Betty.
I know. I thought it was, I thought you had maybe skipped it.
I'm just being nice to folk today.
I don't know. What kind of pills are you taking?
No enough.
Happy ones.
It's Stuart we're talking about.
I am always happy.
Really.
Is it just Councillor Swift we're waiting on then, or does Graham have to come in?
No,
Graham's not
No,
taking
Graham's
part.
not taking it.
I don't think Jim's coming in.
Unless he's having bother again.
I think we've all had bother with it the day.
Stuart, do you want to try him again? I know that you called him for the last meeting just to find out whether or not he's actually coming in.
Yeah, I should. He's just coming.
What department's Matt Greenan in?
Environment.
Environment, right, okay.
With this
You guys want another one?
That is ready to rock and roll?
Yeah, ready to go. Councillor Cunningham, yeah.
Okay. Right, well, good afternoon again. And we'll just ask for if there's any apologies for absence.
Yes, through you, Chair, we've had apologies intimated on behalf of Councillors McLean and Ireland.
Right. Declarations of interest? None. And item 3 is a review, number 2, I have no glasses on, so it's 2020/110, about 10 erection of 18 flats following demolition of existing dwelling house with associated formation of access off Mullockshaw Road, parking and landscaping at rear of Treeside Cottage, Ayr Road, Newton Mearns, reference number 2019 0606 /T1P. Right, so do you have enough information here
Yep.
to proceed?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. So we'll open up the meeting for any comments.
Would you like me to introduce the proposal?
Yes, please,
Chair.
Matt.
Yes, please, if you don't mind.
Thank you. Thank you. As intimated, this is a proposal for the erection of 18 flats, demolition of existing dwelling house and formation of access at Treeside Cottage. Let's see, determination proposal is currently before the review body because there was a non-determinant of the application as detailed below. A determination should have been made by the officers in terms of the scheme of delegation. That's on paragraph 3, page 1 of the of your report before you. The proposal, let's see, is outlined the demolition of dwelling house, erection of flatted development comprising 2 blocks containing 18 bedroom flats and the formation of site parking and landscaping, etc. The parking will provide about 41 places, and a design and access statement was provided by the applicant at this point. We have an added comment. The local review body was lodged in March 2018 against the refusal of planning permission 2017/576. That was subsequently granted by the review body for 4 dwelling houses. The description of the proposal here is on pages 43 and 47 of your papers. You'll see the plan and views from the design statement and access statement, which is a visualisation of the proposal. The proposed flats were laid out in 2 blocks. Block A, which would accompany the position of the existing cottage in the western part of the site, and 5 stories high, comprises of 7 2 to 3 bedroom flats. Block B, which would occupy the eastern part of the site, is 4 stories high and comprises 11 dwellings, 2 to 3 bedrooms. External elevations are of contemporary design with a large window openings, enclosed balconies and flat roofs. Block A has a lower ground floor comprising of 2 enclosed understory car spaces. The uppermost floor on both blocks are set in from the principal elevations, and principal elevations in both blocks are proposed to be externally finished in blonde facing brick with uppermost floors each externally finished in zinc cladding. Access is via the single point of access from Mallet-Shoe Road, and as I've mentioned, it's 41 car parking spaces. In relation to consultation responses, the road service had no objection in principle to the, but had a number of recommendations regarding to the non-adoption of the internal roads and footpaths. East Lancashire's affordable housing and contribution officer stated that the applicant was made aware of the requirements for affordable housing and development contributions. These negotiations were not satisfactorily concluded, and there was no agreement with regard to that. So the officer outlined that the consider the proposal contrary to policy Strat 3 and SG5 of the adopted local development plan. Let's see, with regard to an extended time period was agreed with the applicant initially between the applicant and case officer as negotiations were ongoing with regard to the policy considerations, development contribution and education constraints at the site. These matters were resolved and agreed timeline passed, and the applicant exercised his right to seek a review before the case officer had concluded his consultations and his assessment of the proposals. There was no particular health, environmental health or other consultations which were of particular note. So the planning officer statement of observations, which the local review body will have in their papers, that's on about page 144 of their papers, outlines the reasons why the proposal was considered contrary to policies M1, M2 and M2.1 of the LVP and policies 1 and 2 and contrary to the supplementary planning guidance on Maidenhill as well. In addition, policy D1, they went through the characteristics with that and considered that it would be unacceptable in landscaping terms, particularly in an area identified in the master plan as a green gateway, as an important area for trees. Given these elements, it was considered that it was contrary to proposal D1 of the adopted local plan. Strategic policy 3, which is page 146 of the statement, is important element is the education infrastructure capacity. Given that there's no viable education solution at present and the catchment area issue, no agreement was forthcoming with regard to that. The officers concluded on page 147 that whilst the extant permission for the extent of 4 dwellings is a material consideration, it does not justify what we considered a further departures from the development plan, and the erection of 18 flats is a significantly different proposal, and the extant permission would therefore have less weight than the applicant's agent seeks to ascribe to it. In conclusion, basically, the is recommending that the officer that the application be refused as it being contrary to policies M1, M2, M21 and strategic policy 2, 3 and D1 and SG5. The grounds for the appellant can be outlined on 3 documents. The initial supporting planning statement on pages 119 to 138 of your papers here, and also grounds for review, as pages 181 to 195, and the response to the planning officer statement at pages 159 to 168. Basically, they outline that on their page 131 that the principle of a development has been established with the previous decision of the local review body, and summarises on page 133 that it believes that the development respects the context and retains landscaping, provides a modern built form and ensures a massing accords with topography, etc. Basically, their grounds for review on page 181 say that, and 195, that concludes that the proposal cannot be considered contrary to these policies M1 and M2 as has been highlighted in the original consent. They go through the elements with regard to policy D1 as well on page 164, saying that they, in their opinion, that the proposal accords with policy DE1. So I think that, apologies for a long, drawn-out soliloquy there, but I appreciate the papers are quite large and extensive, so to get it over.
Yeah.
So, in conclusion, remind the members to assess the proposal against the development plan and any other material considerations. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks for that. Now you can understand why I didn't want to go through all that. Okay. So I'll open it up to the committee now for any comments.
Hi, Councillor Cunningham. Can I just say, I mean, it's like Matt said, just because we gave them permission to develop on their ground for 4 houses, does not automatically mean that they can just build whatever they want on this ground. I mean, we gave them the permission for the 4 houses, and that just doesn't seem to have been good enough for them. So they're now come back with 18 flats. I mean, why not just put in for 18 flats in the first place? I mean, were they just testing the water?
I think we should make it clear that, the planning committee have already done a site visit on this, and that we had all been out at it, and we gave permission for 4 houses. 18 flats was never in a consideration, and that's it. So I think I don't know how everybody else feels that done the visit, but I think, I would like to hear to see what you think.
I just think that they didn't put in for the 18 flats because they knew that there was very little chance of them getting the permission for the 18 flats in the first instance. So they went small and aimed larger. And I just had a quick question. It's stated in the papers that they wouldn't allow videoing.
No.
It was just to find out why. Matt, do you know what was the reason given for that?
Just to confirm, Councillor, through the chair, the owner of the property obviously was communicated with to gain permission to the site, and they've refused that. So the owner and the applicant are 2 different parties. The applicant is not the owner. So the owner refused permission to photographs, but appreciate that the review body have been at the site before. So
sorry, it's Siobhan here, legal advisor. Just for clarity, because there was some discussion about the last application. The last application was also made by the owner, and this one is made by an applicant, which is a different party, which might be why they're different proposals. Just for clarity.
Who's speaking?
Siobhan Wilson, legal advisor.
Right, thanks, Siobhan. Right. Well, I don't know but okay, on you go, Stuart.
Right, okay. The couple of things I've clocked is we were all out, or most of us were all out at the last one. We seen the size of it, and if memory serves, the original application was for 2, and we allowed 4 because they went to LRB, so we allowed the 4. And I thought even at the 4, it was a bit of a squeeze, but fair enough. I quite agree with it. So I would suggest that this one for 4 houses I would quite agreed with that, but for 18 flats, it is overdevelopment without a shadow of a doubt. Not only that, the roads department had I'm not saying that an objection, but they had a concern about the access because it was very close to Ayr Road, and the access for it's going to be for 4 houses plus Treeside Cottage itself, so there are 5 altogether. Now you've got, as Matt said, you've got a car parking space for 41 cars. So 41 cars coming out that wee access road is just not one. And the fact, and listening to Matt, there's no agreement in education, no agreement in planning, gain, developer contributions, etc. To me, we cannot accept this one.
No. Anyone else get anything to say on it?
Yeah, I'd like to come in, Betty, if I can.
Right. On you go, Jim.
Okay, thank you very much. Just to agree with what's been said. I mean, I remember the original site visit I can't remember whether I voted for or against it, to be honest, but I do remember it being very tight and thinking 4 was pushing it. But, you know, we granted it, fair enough. But, I mean, to jump from 4 to 18 seems to be massive. It's a very busy road. I wouldn't like to buy a flat overlooking that road. It will get busier as Maidenhill is built out. And I just think the whole application seems speculative. You know, the fact that there's no agreement in planning gain, they haven't spoken to education. And, you know, in part I buy into the fact that maybe flats don't generate as many children, you know, in terms of the occupants as houses do. But if you look at what happens elsewhere, there are lots of people who will take temporary leases in flats, get access to local schools. You know, they take a lease for 6 months or so, and then they move on elsewhere. So the fact is, these flats will actually have an impact on the number of children who access local schools, both denominational and non-denominational. So they ought to have a care, I think, of how it impacts in education. But I just think it's gross overdevelopment and totally out of character with other houses in the area. They're always blighting the large houses that Mac and Mick are building on the other side. And whilst I admit it's not, you know, it's no longer green belt out there in the sense of clearly there's a development, it just seems to be totally inappropriate. And, you know, they should have been grateful for the 4 houses that the review body gave them, probably against planning advice, rather than get greedy and go for the 18. So I would support the planners in this.
Can I come in, Betty?
Yes, no problem when you come.
Thanks very much. I've got to say, I feel really sorry for the people who live in the cottage, on the basis that, you know, we have taken a nice rural community and then just put houses all round it. I think for us to say that it's unacceptable because of the potential impact on trees having devastated the entire surrounding area with houses is a bit kind of hypocritical at best. It's bordering on the farcical, actually. But anyway, I have grave concerns around the issue associated with education infrastructure. As some of you will, of longer standing membership of the council will recall, I spent a great deal of time working with other people trying to work up the capacity in the schools and bringing it to the education department and being told, no, we were fine. And then we built another 3 schools and we're still not fine. And that concerns the jinkies out of me, because we should have enough schooling and we don't. And that's not good enough, frankly. So these are the issues that concern me about the application. Do I think it's too large? Probably. Do I think it's pushing the site? Probably. Do I think that it's a shame for the people who live there? Because God knows I wouldn't want to live there now, having once thought it was a nice, desirable part of the world to live in. And it's a wee island surrounded by housing virtually now, and roads. So I've got to say, I have some degree of, I would have liked there to have been some kind of a middle ground between where we are and what we've got, but we're sitting over what we've got, not what we'd like to have. So I guess that's as much as I would like to say. Yeah.
Well,
Thanks,
has everyone had something to say on it? Right, so I agree with practically everything that's been said. I think it is overdevelopment. I don't understand where 41 cars would go. I think the whole shenanigan of it, right, is just totally against, and I fully support the officer that has put it for, you know, to be refused on the grounds of the policies that he's put forward, right, as far as M1, M2, M2.1 and policy number 1, right, of the development plan. So I move that. Do you have a seconder? Hello?
I'll second it, Betty.
Right, thanks.
As a point of information, through the chair, councillor, may I speak?
Hi.
Hello? Yeah. It's just to confirm, the planning officer's recommendation and conclusion is section 7 of his papers, and you can see the range of it continues on with policy D1 and SG5 as well.
Yeah.
So all the policies.
All the policies. Right. And
I just thought I'd make that clear.
That's fine.
Right. So I've proposed it to refuse it. Angela seconded it. Is there any other comments? No. Okay. I think that's all we've got in that today, hasn't it? So.
Yeah, through you, Chair, just to confirm, as Mark's mentioned there, obviously the local review bodies refused the application subject to the reasons outlined in the planner's assessment report, and those will obviously go down and be recorded in the minute. Okay.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, thanks very much, everybody. Keep safe and keep well. Okay, meeting's now closed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right, bye.
Bye.
Keep well, Betty. Bye now.
Bye.
Thank
all.
you. Appreciate that. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Matt, if you could just leave the meeting as well so that I can close the recording.
Oh, sorry. Apologies. Apologies for that.
Just a red leave button, that'll be fine, thank you.
Just to hang up. The hang up button.
Yes.